So, yeah, I'm aware of this. I'm also aware of the reporting and its biased nature. So, let's go into this. When this is happening, what's happening is the State Department is now mandating the $100,000 fee as part of the negotiation and interplay between the Department of Labor and the State Department when it comes to managing H-1B visas for companies. The State Department talks to the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor is the one that gives them all the data on, what the H-1B should be making, that sort of thing, right? The problem is they don't really have that data. So they go to their buddy, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and tries to get that information for them. The problem is that information is actually wrong, because what's happening there is they are not actually calculating the numbers correctly, because they're removing any wage that is greater than $115 for any role, any industry. That's happening. So if you're a CEO, an executive, you work as a doctor, or you just get paid more money than most people, you're not in this set, because they don't want people to be aware of how much you're making. The problem with this is that when they remove these values and they only calculate these amounts right here, you're unfortunately also making the claim that this is valid data to average for a software development engineer. It's not. And to be clear, when you go into this, you look at Facebook, an E3, which is their junior level developer, $134,000. So it's gone down a little bit, because before it was 40 something. But oh well, it's still there. And so the end result is that every single one of these intervals that has a range under that, it's just bad. So if you're at range H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, you're not even being considered as a software development engineer. These numbers don't make sense to use. And so what happens is I mostly see a lot of H1Bs end up in range G or possibly range H. Unfortunately, that's still too low, because it's still lower than what Meta is claiming to pay for a junior engineer. And so the end result is that if I look at this here, I look at, Google, this is their junior, 150, that makes sense. Junior level, 135, they don't pay as well. Microsoft, flat out, most junior you can get at Microsoft is level 59, and you're still making more at Microsoft than you are Facebook. So keep that in mind. The end result, though, is that every single one of these is wrong. You shouldn't be using this data when you're calculating averages for software development engineers anyway. Different skill set, different job titles, different basis. And so when you get into this anyway, and you start looking at the actual rates and how they map to people in the tech industry, you realize that because they're including a bunch of bad data that's under the rates that are valid, that they're pulling the numbers down. And then on top of that, they're not including the actual real numbers for the most successful people or more senior people. And so they're pulling it down again. So they're pulling down the rates that they're advocating for and representing to the Department of Labor twice through two different mathematical means that actively make the numbers wrong. Okay? And because they are aware of this, they put this in there. And they just say, look, wages equal or greater than that. We're not going to deal with it. The problem with this is it makes Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and thus the data that the Department of Labor is being given for the State Department's request on the H-1B, is always going to be incorrect and lower than market. And this is why H-1Bs are paid less than the rest of the market. And this is why people do not like the H-1B program, because it forces people to move to America, work for these companies, and get paid less, which means that the people that are working for these same companies now have to compete with people that cost less, not because they're worth less, because they're not worth less, but because the government is mandating that they be paid less. And that's unfair. And quite frankly, it's un-American.